Hi everyone and welcome to the What Books to Read channel. Today I want to give you a more in-depth look at the best-selling book The 80/20th Principle by Richard Koch. Published in 1997, this book has sold over 1.5 million copies worldwide and has been translated into over 40 languages. The central idea of the 80/20th principle is that around 80% of outcomes or outputs often come from 20% of causes, inputs, or efforts. Richard Koch argues compellingly that this ratio frequently pops up across many fields like business, science, sports, and more. In business specifically, he found that approximately 80% of sales frequently come from 20% of products or customers. Similarly, around 80% of profits tend to be generated by 20% of lines. And 80% of value commonly comes from 20% of activities. Koch realized this 80/20th pattern applies to aspects of life too. For example, 80% of our decisions about how to spend our time come from 20% of the options we consider. Around 80% of our outcomes in terms of health, wealth, and happiness result from 20% of possible factors. The implication is profound. By focusing resources and efforts primarily on that vital 20% that really matters most, individuals and companies can dramatically increase results and reduce wasted time or money on less productive areas. The book provides many case studies and walk-through examples to clearly illustrate applying the principle in areas like time management, priority setting, sales strategies, marketing and more. By reading the 80/20th principle, you'll learn how to identify your high-yield 20% across domains, double down your inputs there, and minimize activities in the bottom 80% less impactful zones. This concentrated focus allows accomplishing far more with much less effort. I hope this detailed book summary was helpful for you. Be sure to grab a copy of the 80/20th principle to learn how to optimize your results by capitalizing on the few things that really drive outputs. Here are some of my favorite quotes from the 80/20th principle by Richard Koch. Number 1. 20% of customers account for 80% of sales. Within companies, 20% of employees commonly generate 80% of the results. In scientific research, 20% of the effort produces 80% of the value. Number 2. Focus your greatest efforts on the 20% that really matters and give the remaining 80% only cursory attention. Number 3. The secret of the few is to exploit the power of concentration to accomplish the vital rather than the material. Number 4. It is easy and automatic to spread efforts evenly across all opportunities. It requires conscious thought and effort to concentrate on the most productive 20%. Number 5. The essence of the 80/20th principle is that a small number of causes, unrelated and uncorrelated, frequently generate a major part of the result. Number 6. Once the 80/20th principle is understood, decisions and effort can be concentrated on that dominant 20%. Number 7. 80/20th thinking is the royal road to more effective actions and better choices in both our professional and personal lives. Here are 5 key lessons from the 80/20th principle by Richard Koch. Number 1. Focus on the vital few, not the useful many. One of the most important lessons is recognizing that a small minority of inputs, around 20%, typically account for the large majority of results. By concentrating resources on these high-impact areas, you can optimize outcomes. Number 2. Identify your high-yield activities. Closely tracking where you currently generate returns allows pinpointing your natural 20% zone to maximize. Look for patterns of which clients, projects, products, or tasks over-deliver. Number 3. Minimize low-impact work. With focus comes the discipline to scale back efforts that contribute less. Pruning peripheral responsibilities frees up time and bandwidth to double down on work that moves the needle. Number 4. Practice concentrated effort. The 80/20th principle requires a conscious decision to apply special attention to the 20% that drives the most value. It's easy to spread effort evenly, but concentrated focus leads to exponentially better results. Number 5. Leverage the power of Pareto distributions. Understanding how the 80/20th pattern plays out across domains builds confidence that optimizing high-yield activities will pay off. Seek and exploit Pareto distributions in your own sphere of influence. Thank you so much for watching my book review of the 80/20th principle by Richard Koch. I hope you found it useful and are now interested in reading the book to learn more about applying this powerful concept. I think one of the most valuable takeaways is how the 80/20th pattern consistently emerges in all kinds of fields, from business and productivity to personal relationships and well-being. Realizing this ratio of inputs to outputs tends to hold true so often is really eye-opening. It helps us recognize that while trying to optimize everything equally may seem logical, focusing resources on that important 20% minority is actually a far more effective strategy. Learning to identify and double down on our high-yield areas has potential to dramatically boost outcomes. My biggest recommendation would be to start tracking where you already achieve 80% of returns currently without any special effort. That's likely your natural 20% zone to capitalize on. You can also experiment by genuinely minimizing low-impact activities and inputs to see results improve. I hope you found this book review series on what books to read useful for selecting new titles. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next episode where I'll be sharing insights from another highly influential business self-development book. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I look forward to discussing more great reads with you next time.